Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 8 in the series The Queen Rules. The video is titled A Truly Astonishing Queen Move. And it really is. It was played in 2006 on the 26th of July in a tournament in Pardubice in the Czech Republic, round 6 between two grandmasters. The Ukrainian grandmaster Alexander Zubarev is white and the Czech grandmaster Jiří Lektinsky is black. The white player was 27 years old when this game was played and the black player was 59. Youth against experience. Zubarev opened with e4 and e5, the classical answer from Lektinsky. Knight f3, knight c6, and we have a Ruy Lopez. The bishop was kicked back. Knight f6, white castled. Black developed the bishop. Rook in the center. Kick the bishop again, all very standard. d6, a4, bishop on the long diagonal, and here c3 is the main move to prepare d2, d4, but Zubarev played d3, also possible. Black castled, knight bd2, and now a surprising move if you've never seen it before, knight back to b8, the Breyer variation, which was recommended by the Hungarian player Gyula Breyer as early as 1911, I'm quoting Wikipedia. But there are no known game records in which Breyer employed this line. The Breyer variation did not become popular until the 1960s when it was adopted by nobody less than Boris Spassky, former world champion, and others. In particular, Spassky's back-to-back wins over Misha Tal at Tbilisi in Georgia in 1965 did much to enhance his reputation, and Spassky has a career plus score with the Breyer on the black side. The variation is the choice of many top-level players today, as white has trouble proving an advantage against it. Just some background on this Breyer variation in the Ruy Lopez. c3 from white, and now we see black's idea. He's going to move the knight to d7, and he wants to play c5. That was why the knight went back to b8 first, to clear the path for the c-pawn. d4 finally, and now c5 is planned. A lot of tension in the center there. Bishop back to c2, queen to c7, and Zubarev pushed in the center. c4, and the knight went to f1, on its way to g3. Knight c5, nice square for the knight. h3, and rook f2, e8. White has not achieved an opening advantage and it looks like we're in for a long maneuvering game. But that was not going to be the case. The knight went to g3 as planned, and here g6 is the best move to stop the knight coming to the nice square on f5. But black played knight f to d7 instead. The knight went to f5, bishop f8, preserving that bishop, and knight h2. Another knight retreating move like we saw black do in the opening. It's opening up the diagonal for the queen. And also knight g4 is an option to strengthen white's attack. White is going to attack black's king, which has not too many defenders around it. f6 played by Lektinsky. Rook e3, a rook lift. The rook is also coming into action. Lots of white pieces are aimed at black's king, and black must have felt somewhat uncomfortable here already. He felt he had to play g6 to kick that knight, but rook g3 pins the g-pawn, so the knight cannot be taken. This game is a good example of the fact that attacking is easier than defending. Here king h8 needed to be played, but black played king f7, and that is a bad move. Now what to do with white, how to continue the attack. The pawn on g6 is keeping things together for the moment, and here comes this astonishing queen move that I promised. The queen rules, queen d1 to h5 was white's move. A strong player probably will find it if he or she is told that there is a combination in the position, but to find this over the board if you do not know that there's a winning combination, then this is quite incredible. Alexander Zubarev found it. And why is it so good? Well, what is white's threat? Let's not take the queen yet. Let's make a silly move for black, just to see the threat that white now has. Let's play a5. Well, then it's a mate in 2. Queen takes. You can only interpose the bishop, and this is checkmate. Okay, so we know that is the threat. And still, let's wait, capturing the queen. The queen was captured in the game, but what happens after king g8 instead to take this mate in 2 out of the position? Then there is a rook sacrifice. Rook takes g6 check is the strongest move. If you take the rook, then there is queen takes, king h8, and a very nice move, knight g4. It is clear that the black king is not going to survive this with 20 points into the attack. And it's also not easy for black to bring more defenders to assist the king. The 20 points, what I mean with that is these 4 pieces are worth about 20 points and they're all attacking black's king. And it's really not easy for black to bring defenders to help the king. This knight has to keep the f6 pawn protected, the bishop has to keep g7 protected against checkmate. Let's look at one sample variation. If we make room for the queen, for the black queen to come to the rescue of the king, then the f6 pawn is unprotected, and now we see some nice checkmates. The threat is queen g8 checkmate. If we put a bishop on g7 to avoid queen g8, then it's mate on h7. The bishop is now in the way of the black queen. The h7 square is no longer covered, and there really is no other way to control a g8 square. Bishop e7, then either queen g7 checkmate or also queen h7 checkmate. One more nice variation I want to show you before we're going to take the queen. After queen h5, king g8 as we saw, then rook takes g6. And if you now play king h8 instead, not taking the rook because we saw that doesn't work, then bishop h6. And if you now take the rook, there is bishop g7 check, and that is double check. Both the bishop and the queen give check to the king. You can only get out of a double check by moving the king. King g8. Queen takes g6, and the next move will be knight h6 checkmate. And that's also a pretty picture that I wanted to show you. If you take on g7, then this is also checkmate. So not taking the queen does not work for black. So black took on h5, winning a full queen. There was not even a piece or anything on h5 that white took. He just put his queen on h5 to soften up the defense. G takes h5 was played, and now what? How do you continue? Well, the point is bishop d1. Very nice move, which is now actually threatening mate in 1. Bishop takes h5 would be checkmate in this position. And black has the same problem as we just saw. It's very difficult to bring defenders in aid of the black king. The black king can also not flee. You cannot move to the safe queen side because the knight is taking that square. So black played bishop takes d5. Of course, he won a full queen, so he can afford to give some material back. He can afford to give a lot of material back. The point of this is that it gives a flight square to the king on e6. Bishop takes d5. But white calmly took back, taking control of the e6 square again. And here actually Lektinsky did not see a way out and resigned here on move 24. And white had won a very spectacular game. Why did he resign? Let's look at some variations. He did not resign too early. It really is over. The threat is still bishop takes h5 checkmate. Let's try something. Let's try bishop e7 to at least give the king a square on f8. Then white is going to take anyway. And if you move to that square, then bishop h6 is a very nice checkmate. Another way to do it after bishop e7 is to play knight h6 check. The king has to go to f8 and checkmate with the rook this time. Also very nice. Let's try something else after e takes d5. Let's play bishop g7. Is that any better? Here we see also a very nice variation. The bishop, of course, is hanging on g7, but black is not too worried about material. He just took a full queen. But after rook takes g7 check, king f8, there is bishop a6. Let's see what white is threatening. Let's again make that silly move a5. Then we see the threat. The threat is rook g3 check. The bishop gives check to the king. A discovered check. King f7 only move and checkmate. So that is the threat after bishop h6. Black can still play rook e7. Give that king the flight square on e8. But there is bishop takes h5. Taking the flight square away again. And if you now take on g7... we see a nice variation. Bishop takes, king g8 only move, knight g4, and then h6 gives the king the flight square on h7. but white regains it with bishop g6, and there is really nothing to do against knight g takes h6 checkmate, and that would be a very nice checkmate with the 4 minor pieces. Let's put it on the board. Knight g takes h6, and this is a very pretty picture indeed. What a game from Alexander Zverev. I'm sure he's still proud of it today. And the move of the game was of course queen d1 to h5, not taking anything on h5, just putting the queen there to have a threat so that the queen has to be taken, and then that bishop c2 to d1 move. And then we saw all those beautiful checkmating variations. A beautiful game. Zverev, Leczinski, Pardubice 2006. And this is the position in our game, Rick against a chess to impress viewers. I am white and you are black. I've just played rook a1 to a2 on the 18th move. As I told you on Sunday, in Sunday's video, in the viewers game video that we post every Sunday, I'm going after your a6 pawn. My plan is to play rook f2 a1 to really put pressure on that pawn. There have been some comments already on what to do next. One dear and very faithful viewer suggested c4, but he said he wasn't sure, and indeed that is not a very good move because it drops the knight on b6, as Jim, also a very faithful viewer, pointed out to him. So c4 may not be the best move, but what would you play here? You can take part in this game by putting your move, your 18th move for black, in the comment section underneath this video. And by doing that you will be in a raffle. At the end of the game I will raffle a chess book amongst the viewers who have taken part in this game. I'm looking forward to seeing your entries. I hope you will take part in our game. And I hope you enjoyed this latest installment in This Piece Rules series. It was the 8th video on the Queen rules. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, if you liked This Piece Rules series, then please share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.